In Joshua chapter 14, we're reminded of a guy named Caleb. And we're reminded that he's a really good dude. You might remember that when Caleb was 40 years old, he was one of the individuals who was chosen to go and spy out the promised land to see if it was good or not and see what troubles were there. And he bravely did. He did what the Lord commanded him to do. He went, he came back, and while all the other spies were really discouraged by what they saw, Caleb is one of the very few people who remained optimistic and positive. And because he remained optimistic and positive and gave a good report, the Lord rewarded him for that. He said, Caleb, I'm going to give you an inheritance in the promised land, a very special inheritance that's going to be just for you. That was when Caleb was 40 years old. Fast forward 45 years. So now Caleb is 85 years old and he still hasn't received that inheritance. And so he comes to Joshua, and actually some people come to Joshua on Caleb's behalf, and they say, do you remember that the Lord promised Caleb that he would receive part of the promised land as his inheritance for how brave he was and how positive he was and how faithful he was to God? Do you remember? And so Caleb had waited 45 years expecting that God was going to keep his promise, that he was going to give him his inheritance in the promised land. And then when he was going to receive the inheritance, it seems that Caleb had the choice of what type of inheritance he was going to receive, like which land he would receive. And he didn't pick the one that would be easiest. He picked the one that still had some enemies on it, the one that would be very difficult to take. But he said this, he said, but with the Lord helping me now, I'll take it. Like, it'll be mine. Because the Lord helped me in the past. I was confident that the Lord would help me wherever I was in the present, and I know he's going to help me now. And so Caleb, he was a really good dude, kind of guy that you want your daughters to marry. He was faithful to the Lord. He was optimistic about the Lord's promises. He patiently waited for the Lord to keep his promise for 4.5 decades. And then even when the Lord kept his promise, he didn't, he said, I can tackle anything with the Lord by my side because the Lord is my help. If you know someone like that, maybe just give them a call or send them a text and tell them that you see their faith and you're so grateful for it. Because faith like that is sometimes hard to find in the world today. It's a hard kind of faith to put into practice. And secondly, if you think that you could never live up to Caleb's standard, if you look back in your life and you think, I haven't been that optimistic during my challenges. I haven't been that joyful in waiting for the Lord to keep his promises. I haven't been that confident as I step into my next battles, knowing they're going to be battles. Well, you can be. You can. Psalm 121, it asks the question, where does my help come from? My help, your help. Well, it comes from the Lord. The maker of heaven and earth, it says, the one who can do anything. The one who can make the heavens, who can make the earth, who can make whatever he wants. The one who can do whatever he wants and have whatever he wants and chose to have you. To have you. And that cost something. He had to step into a battle too. But it was a cost he paid. It was a cost that benefits you. It changes the way that you get to look at yourself. You don't have to look back in your past and see failures of faith or weakness or fears or anything like that. Because now, because of the battle that Christ has already won on your behalf, the one that took place on a cross with nails against sin and Satan and death, your Heavenly Father looks at you sees perfection. Perfection. Your God holds nothing against you. And so you don't have to hold anything against you. Whatever your next step is, if it's smooth and simple, or if you know it's going to be an intense battle, the Lord will help you, just as he helped Caleb. Rest well tonight, my friends.